recording and forgot to hit the microphone button. My apologies. So I was just saying that we're doing roll call, and so those in the room, if you could state your name, and then we do have Ed Hedges and Peggy Hall on remotely. We'll have to make a motion for them to be able to participate remotely.
Marty Mantonfeld, present.
Alan Steinbeck.
Tom Shaner.
John Barry, present.
Laura Leroy's here, and as stated, Ed Hedges and Peggy Hall are online. So I'll need a motion for them to be able to participate remotely due to extraordinary circumstances.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right,
Tom made the motion, Alan second.
thank you. Anyone opposed?
Negative.
No.
All right, Ed and Peggy, you are cleared to participate remotely and vote in the whole spiel. I do have two public comments. One is an agenda item. One is a non-agenda item. First is Carol Pancaw regarding item 6A. Reminder, 3 minutes. I know you don't usually have a problem with that, but just a reminder.
Hi, Carol Pancaw, 10605 Avila Circle in Pelican Preserve. At our last CDD meeting, which was a week ago today, it came to our attention that there had been a error made in the computing of the property taxes. And because of the timing of everything, we had to make a decision that day as to whether we were going to add this to the assessment rolls or we were going to take the money out of reserves. The board voted, and I voted also, to take it out of the reserves for Pelican Preserve. Laura was involved in that whole thing. She can explain it in detail when we get to the financial report. But that is probably why it is not an agenda item on your agenda today. It came because last Thursday this agenda was printed. So I think you need to have a discussion about this. We did vote to take it out of your reserves, but I'd like for you to understand why and all the consequences around it. And if you need to ask any questions, I'll be here to answer questions on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, and Joe Schofield is here regarding an issue with Pond 47.
Joe Schofield, Karina. This might be part of your agendas. I see you've got ponds on here. I'm talking about Pond 47, which is in my backyard. And for more than 5 years, we've been having an issue with it. Today, the pins that the surveyors put in my yard are 5 feet from the bank. I'm paying taxes on water. We have no littorals in that pond and have had none for over 5 years. The erosion is getting horrible. I've done some checking on it, and typically South Florida Water Management District requires 30% of the land area to be covered with littorals. We have none. The littorals are there to help the pond function as it's supposed to be, to biologically handle the vegetation and stuff that's floating in there. I'm concerned that we're number 4 on a list of ponds to be fixed. I've been told that's going to be 1 to 2 years out. How much more property am I going to lose in that time period? Every major storm, I lose more property. My concern and question for you is, what do you think South Florida Water Management District will say to the CDD about ponds where they have requirements and they're not being maintained properly in Pelican Preserve? Thank you. I hope you'll discuss this.
Mm-hmm. Joe, did you put in a ticket?
I put in
No, wait a minute.
Yes.
No, we're going to talk about it, Joe. I
Okay.
coincidentally said something before you even got up. Didn't know what you were going to say.
This has been on the docket for years.
Yes.
All right, I do not have any other public comment. So next up is to approve the PPAC meeting minutes, and it looked like there was some blank spots in there. Marty, I'm surprised you didn't call it out.
I did see the blank spot. I think I'm the second on the motion.
Let me check my notes. That was Christmas lights. I have you made the motion and, no, that's, no, sorry, that's not that one. That was tree lines, street lights, Breno. I did not take notes for that. So you think it was you? It was Ed and
I
then
believe
you?
it was me that made the second.
Okay.
This is Marty.
I'll put you down to be responsible for that.
Okay.
Other than that, are there any changes that you would like to make to the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second.
All right, that was Marty and Alan. Anyone opposed?
Nope.
All right, passes, everybody's 6-0.
Unanimously.
Yeah, well, we didn't hear from the other two.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't say anything, so I'm gonna count them as a yay.
Okay.
9,
Yay.
24. I only asked for anybody opposed, and they didn't say anything, so silence means approval. All right, next up is the financial report. Did you want to go first? Or do you want to do it? It would be right after that. Okay. So here's my summary. This only goes through July. I literally got the August financials this morning. One change that was made, it shows in here now, if you notice, the ponds reserve is less. I had her make that, that transfer. It'll show up in the ponds. I don't remember what order they come in. Ponds. Yep. So right now, this was 105,000 before, so this is now 205,000.
Laura, this is Ed. If you go back to your PPAC top summary, the ponds was supposed to be, the ponds and landscape is switched around the numbers. The landscape was 294 and the ponds was 236. So they're on the wrong lines, and the 100 should have come off of the 236 for ponds, with landscaping still having 294.
All right, hang on.
So it's not just the numbers are reversed, Ed, it's just that the first number is reversed. It should be 290. No?
Landscape should be 294 and ponds should be 136.
Well, what I'm getting at, it's right here, it's two, yeah, but no, if you flip them, you get it ponds at 236, not 294.
No, ponds should be.
No,
All right, so what do you
I
say ponds
understand.
should be?
I understand.
ponds should be 294
What I'm saying?
and landscape is 136.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm back. Landscape is 294 and ponds is 136.
Here's your, this is August. I just did these this morning, so it's correct on
I
this
got
one.
it, I got it.
So here's ponds at 136 and landscape at 294. So this is actually August, which
Yeah.
said I literally got these this morning. So we can take a peek at August if you'd like. So here's where you're sitting.
And Ed, you've looked at these and you're comfortable with it?
He hasn't seen August,
You hadn't seen this one?
except for my goof with the 100,000 here. They're flip-flopped. Everything else.
Yeah,
Where's the
yeah, if
reserve
you,
That's what, where's the reserve that Carol was
that Carol
talking about?
talked about?
What Carol was referencing, is that reflected in these financial statements?
You
or
mean
that?
the money for the assessments?
Yes.
No, that's not reflected here because that won't happen until
Until
fiscal
next year.
25.
Okay.
And that'll come out of your unassigned reserves is where that'll come.
Right.
And how much we took,
It's about $200,000.
and it was because of this,
So what happened is, I can explain what happened. So what happened is in the spreadsheet that we use for the budget and to calculate the tax assessment roll, the way that you guys have your allocations in Pelican is a little different than the way that we do it in Gateway. You have waterway management, which is all your pond stuff. You have admin, which obviously should be admin costs, and then you have inside and outside the gate. So when we started transferring, or when we transferred the lines for landscape and safety and security over, because ponds already was here. So when we moved landscape and safety and security over to our budget, there's a formula that goes along with that to calculate the benefit to the people outside the gate versus those of you that actually live in Pelican Preserve. And that formula did not get carried over. So the people outside the gate were being charged the same percentage for all of the landscaping and all of the safety and security, which the safety and security stuff only benefits those of you who live inside the community. And the landscaping, normally they were being assessed 12% of the total cost for just the stuff outside the gate. We did not catch that until the tax roll was almost ready to be sent. It was the final verification. It got caught. So we had to change those calculations, which resulted in a total of $200,000 less being assessed to those outside the gates. That's all the commercial properties, C5, all those people outside the gate. And then that 200,000 will either need to be made up by those of you living inside the gate, which came out to a little over $75 a household, or we could just pull it from reserves and not change what the people inside the gate were paying. And so that was staff's recommendation, as well as the board approval, to take the $200,000 to not increase your assessments for the amount inside the gate.
$200,000 out of what?
It would come out of your reserves.
Reserves. How much is left in the reserves?
You have plenty. So
Plenty.
it'll be,
No.
they'll be carry forward next year, and there's also enough interest. We actually budgeted light for how much interest you guys will get, and between the carry forward that's coming over and the interest that's on your earnings, because you guys have a lot of money sitting in the bank. That Stephen Bloom was confident that the majority of that should cover that shortfall.
What
So
period of time does that?
It won't start until
$200,000?
fiscal 25. So October.
$200,000, what period does that cover? Just 1
From,
year?
it's 1 year, one
1 year.
fiscal year.
And that'll
Yep,
come out
and
in one lump sum in the beginning of the year?
No.
Yeah,
It's not spread over 12
I mean,
months.
basically, it's like if we need it, we won't make the transfer, because if you end up not needing it by the end of the year, then we wouldn't transfer the funds. It's just like, if we need the $200,000, if you spend every single penny in your entire budget, you're gonna be $200,000 short. So if you end up not doing that, we can look at it at the end of the year, so.
I seem to recall that when.
This is it. This is Ed. Can I make a comment? My understanding is it isn't even necessarily really a transfer. It's just our revenues will be reduced by $200,000. So if we spend all of our budget, we would have to use our reserve, some of our reserves, carry forward reserves for that.
And that's what I just said, yeah, that's assuming that you spend every penny of your budget, you would be 200,000 short.
Yeah.
I seem to recall that when we were doing the budget, that there was some concern about the outside businesses being charged such a high fee. Is that what we're talking about here now? Because it seemed like that they were paying an awfully high fee compared to what they had been paying. And is that because of
The calculation,
the calculations?
and that didn't get
So it's been
verified until.
settled, it just nobody picked it up at that time.
Until we were doing the final review, like literally I had to send Steven a thing, he was getting ready to send it, I said, stop, don't send it, we have a problem. So it came like right down to the wire, so.
This is Marty. Do we need a motion to accept the Board of Supervisors'
Nope,
decision?
they have the final say.
Okay.
So it's more just information for you, and if you had any additional questions as far as what happened. I mean, I don't expect some your normal spending habits that the 200,000 will have to come out of reserves, but in the event that you happen to expend your entire budget, you know, they did say that they would take the 200,000 to cover the shortfall in revenue.
This is Ed again. I got your email and I saw the rationale for that, because I asked a question about this and I had to go back into the hospital, so I wasn't able to weigh in. But I think there are some issues with those allocations that we need to take back or to look at more closely going forward. Because if you look at safety and security, it's all being allocated inside the fence. And safety and security includes the lighting, which includes tree line. And so there are some line items in some of those that aren't necessarily being allocated correctly, I don't believe. Now, it may become a moot point, like with the street lights, because those are going to the county, so it may not be that big of an issue going forward. But I think we have to, now that we've kind of realigned have these sub budgets that we never had before, because they were all up under one, and they've been broken out now, but we really got to look at how their allocation and the allocation factors are for inside and outside the fence for the going forward.
Yep, and we will absolutely be doing that as we go through the exercise of, we're going to be revisiting the entire assessment methodology because we realize that there are issues with the way that some of the things, I mean, when they looked at it 5 years ago, Pelican wasn't even the same as what it is now, nor was Gateway. We're a lot more built out. So the rationale for the way that benefits and the expenses were allocated is not the same now as it was then. So that definitely is being looked at as part of the redo of the assessment methodology to make sure that it's
Yeah.
fair. So Peggy, I think you were trying to say something before.
Oh, I was just going to mention that it is sensible for me to have them take it from reserves, and I was supportive of that when I was talking to Bob. So.
Okay. Anything else on the financial part then? Or any other questions about what happened?
I have
at the
no further
meeting?
questions on the financials.
All right, I will let Chelsea get up here so she can leave. She is being Doug today. He is in Barcelona. We told him not to call in, so.
We get to shoot at Chelsea, Doug.
Yeah. You normally don't shoot at him, so you don't get to shoot at me. Chelsea O'Reilly, district manager, but Doug is out of the country. He did ask that I step in and answer some of these
You've already
questions,
seen this,
specifically
so.
to Pond 36. If you do have detailed questions about his budget and things like that, please email him directly. I'm just going to touch on Pond 36. So we had the engineers and the contractor do a final walkthrough the other day. There were minor things that were still on the punch list that needed to be resolved. As of an hour ago, I received an email that all of the punch list items were resolved. The contractor had requested a change order for time and materials incurred for Tropical Storm Debbie. I know everyone rags about our, huge ITB document, but it really saved us in this instance because in the bid document, it said that any additional time or finances that were requested by the contractor could only be requested during a hurricane or a tornado. So we were not obligated to pay that Tropical Storm Debbie. On the other hand, you may recall the year 8 of 8 rear yard drain boxes that Copeland has been working on for many years with the downspouts of the gutters. Unfortunately, as part of the design, the engineer did not incorporate where all of those boxes were. And so the contractor has requested additional time and materials to maneuver around all 40 some of those boxes, which I think is acceptable and is fair. So we're pending that change order. I anticipate that to be no more than $12,000. So you will see that very soon. From an administrative standpoint, I'm going to recommend approval. I think it's fair. Moving forward on the ponds that Doug has identified for next fiscal year, which is 47 and 48, we've already notified the engineer to incorporate on your Passarella website those boxes into the design plans. I have requested a task authorization from Tetra Tech for the design of the next sets of ponds. I know you guys have a budget that we're going to try to stay underneath, so that task authorization will be vetted through the ponds subcommittee and then up to you and then the board. But this project, I would say it's complete, 100% complete, pending these minor documentation back and forth with the vendor.
Do you want to talk about the golf course?
I do. So per the ITB documents, there's a 1-year warranty that the contractor has to uphold from final completion. I don't know if Doug got you up to speed, but there were some major washouts abutting the golf course side of this project. The golf course did do those repairs. I cannot hold our contractor accountable for that area along the golf course for the warranty work. And so when the district engineer, he agrees that when we issue final completion, it will be everything less anything that abuts the golf course.
Did the same contractor do the golf course work?
No, the different contractor. What I've also asked of the engineer is that to draft a separate letter and that we will be putting the golf course on notice that they're responsible because they brought in a bunch of fill and we know of at least 2 spots that to this day are still an issue. And so we anticipate additional washouts and it's directly related to the golf course. And they acknowledged it because they did the repairs in the first go around. So that's Pond 36. Do you have any questions?
No, 36. Move on off of 36.
Yeah, do you have questions for me though?
Well, I know you can't answer, except you just said one thing that I want to go back to what Mr. Schofield referenced. I'm aware of Pond 47 because a number of residents have complained about the littoral. It is bare. There's not a littoral in the whole circle. Don't understand why. So I coincidentally just asked that question before Joe walked into the room. But one of the things Joe cited when he was speaking is that it's his understanding that that's number 4 in line, but you just said next year is 47 and 48. So will we be addressing 47 in the immediate future?
Doug has to run those 2 ponds by the subcommittee and has to get the buy-in, but that was the communication I had with him. I will say that South Florida Water Management District, every pond is incorporated as part of a specific development order. And if that development order requires littorals, a percentage of littorals to be on that pond, we have to make sure that we have those planted and that we're in compliance. If the DO is silent to any littorals, we're not required to have them. So we are pursuing on this side, on the Pelican side, to make sure that we are in compliance with South Florida Water Management District. We have a great working relationship with them. There's actually an item later on that Laura can speak to working with South Florida Water Management District, but as far as I know, those 2 ponds are next on the docket. At least that's what I was told by Doug. Again, that has to run through your pond subcommittee and they have to approve it, and then you have to approve it.
All right, I will talk to Doug because I agree that personal opinion, but I want to know why that particular pond does not have littoral, so I can answer residents who are asking.
I can, this is Peggy. We did put littorals on that pond, I think twice, and the fish ate them. So it's not for our lack of trying, but it is, we're hopeful that with a new approach for when we would plant them, during what season, that they will take this time.
You'll have to find fish-resistant grass like they have
No,
deer-resistant.
we need to tell the fishermen that's where the fish are.
Have them go catch, yeah.
I don't-
This is your committee. You do not have to offer
We
from the public.
don't have a chairperson.
No,
per
it's
se.
still up to you because you're here, so.
Well, if you can keep it tight.
They put littorals in about 5 years ago. They all washed out within 2 weeks. I went back and replanted some of them, and they still washed out. We were told the fish ate them, which they came back finally and said that wasn't the case. So the littorals they put in were a total failure. They didn't last 3 weeks in that pond, and nothing's been done since. Now, Peggy, I appreciate your input, but it's only been done one time.
But I, for one, will talk to Doug and try to get a better understanding for my own edification.
I appreciate that, and I'm thrilled to hear that they moved it up because I got an email from the Ponds Committee
And if I see
saying
you eating
we were
littoral-
number 4 and 1 to 2 years away. So something's changed. That's good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Chelsea on the
Thank you,
pond
Kel.
subcommittee update?
This is Marty. I have no further questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Go to the
See
next
ya.
one.
What's next? The new landscape committee person. Oops, not down. I need to make it bigger. I hate this thing. Susan Atkinson applied to be, is coming in front of you as a recommendation from the landscape subcommittee to be in addition to their team. So it's just, the landscape committee already approved her, but they're your subcommittee, so it needs to come in front of you for your approval as
I'll
well.
make a motion to approve Susan.
Second, this discussion, they recommended it, right?
They did, yep, this came from the landscape
Okay.
subcommittee, yep.
Clarifying, good.
Anyone opposed? All right, 6-0.
No.
Works for me.
No.
Okay, next up, the Pelican Boardwalk. I think this is what Chelsea was saying. Here we go. This is what you guys were talking about earlier. And what Chelsea was saying too. So there's been many requests to look again at that smaller area from the Sienna side to come into that first opening, kind of the overlook that you have, to be able to allow golf
The big
carts on
round-
that
the big
portion,
round
the big
area
round
with the-
area with the little
Sienna
short.
side.
With
Yeah,
little
the Sienna
seating
side.
Come in the Sienna side.
It's
to
got that
where
little
the benches
walkway,
are.
Right.
the little walkway. We have met with South Florida in the past, and they have said no, because of our permit, but they are open to having discussions. There are certain steps that we need to take, including an environmental impact study, to prove that allowing the golf carts on the boardwalk won't have an impact on your environment. Regardless of the fact that you guys did it for 20 years and it didn't affect anything, they don't care, because you shouldn't have been doing it anyway. So they said, nope, we have to start over. So they are open to having discussions, especially because it's a small area, and there are some costs involved with that, of course. So the Tetra Tech's part is about $3,000, and then it's $14,600 from Passarella. So you're looking at almost, what, 17,600 total.
What do you need an engineering study for?
It's required. They have to have
They
an
have to
engineer.
do it?
It has to be an engineer.
Because all you're really doing is pulling up two poles, one pole, and placing down two more.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they have to do, but whatever they send in, an engineer needs to be able to sign off on it. So that's what the 3,000, they have some drawings and others. I'm not deeply involved in this one, but I'm aware of what's that it's
So
happening.
that wouldn't be the total cost then, because.
That would just be for the environmental
Yeah,
impacts
that's
part of
just
it.
for the
And
study.
yeah, and I don't know if there is, if there will be additional fees, if they'll require, sometimes they require more, sometimes they'll say, yes, you can do it, but if you're gonna do it, this is the amount that we expect to be the impact on the environment, and you may have additional costs. But that will come in front of you before we would do anything like that. So this is just to get to that point, for them to say yes or no, and for them, if they say yes, if there are any additional requirements that they
So
would
we
have.
we could be
So we're
spending
modifying
almost
our permit.
$20,000
And
and
they
come
could
up
say
with a
no.
no.
Correct.
And then how many people are being affected by this? That's the whole
And
thing.
that's, I mean,
Right.
This is Ed. Didn't we discuss this last meeting?
I don't remember discussing this
Not
one.
this one.
no.
No.
Chelsea
this is
brought
new.
it up at the last
She-
meeting or the meeting before,
At the
so.
last meeting, Chelsea said that she was going to be meeting with them. So this is the result of that meeting.
As I understand it, just to clarify, the need is that there's no golf cart parking on the Sienna side. There's not enough space. So people who want to access the preserve would like to come in, wheelchair, whatever or golf cart, I guess it's really golf cart, come into that center circle where the picnic benches are.
Mhm.
And we would have to put one of the billiards where the old flag used to be, to go down to the bird watching area, and another one where the boardwalk would continue on to the town center side.
Correct.
Pick up one, put down two, to allow access to that area. I know that.
So will this proposal do the engineering work to replace those bollards?
I think this covers everything that we need to do in order to make it compliant.
It doesn't do wouldn't do the construction modifications.
Yeah.
No.
That,
So that's another,
there's additional costs.
right, that's
Yeah.
more, and I'm not sure I understand the benefit.
Can I address the board? I was intimately involved with that boardwalk in its design, construction, and.
Right. Now, Joe, let's hold tight.
Firsthand,
I know.
detailed information very quickly.
Just trying to analyze in my mind the cost benefit.
This does not guarantee that South Florida will
Right.
say yes.
Right, you're going to spend $20,000 on the
Correct.
chance that they might say yes.
At least they gave us the opportunity to do this now, or before they didn't even want to talk
Right,
about
right,
it.
right.
So
They
that's
didn't wanna talk.
huge compared to 2 years ago when I met with them.
Well, before you
So-
were trying to run them all the way through though, weren't you, or no?
We were just talking, yeah, we were talking access at all. They were like,
Right.
no golf cart anywhere on the boardwalk.
Right.
They were having nothing to do with that.
This is Peggy. I would really like to see us at least pursue to see what it would take.
Say it again, Peggy.
I would like us to move forward to see what it would take to get access. We hear this a lot from people that want to have access to the preserve area and don't feel they're able to for their mobility.
If you think taking them to the center part satisfies their need, then I guess it's worth the study.
Theoretically.
A short period, very short.
Yeah, it's 50 feet.
It's a short
Yeah.
distance,
I'm
but
not
it's,
sure.
it
Yep.
may prevent others from getting up there. Some
Yeah.
people may not be able to get up there.
It allows them to come into the area where the picnic tables are.
Right.
So
This is
just
Marty.
to have the,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the task authorization for the environmental resource modification.
I'll
This is
second.
Peggy, I'll second that.
You can't.
All right.
She said she could.
all right. So you're, I think this only actually talks about Passarella, but it's got both at the bottom. So are you making the motion to approve both Passarella and Tetra Tech because they both need,
Yes.
they have to go hand in hand. You can't do
That
one
is
without the
correct.
other. Okay. So Marty's motion is to approve the 17.6 to do Passarella and Tetra Tech
And that
for,
has to be done before you can get the yes out of the.
yep, that's to apply for the permit modification.
Top of the page.
Yeah, it only, I know I read it too, and I'm like, it only talks about Passarella, but at the bottom it talks about both. So I don't usually read the top part when I approve them, I just check the funding and. So
All right, this is Marty. I'm an aye.
anyone opposed?
I-
Okay,
I'm
passes.
still, I'm kind of struggling, like Tom is, about
Okay,
the benefit of it.
all right. we can-
Give me a second to think about it.
Well, let's call a vote. We'll start online. I'll go with Ed.
Well, we haven't really
But did you have more
discussed it
discussion?
among ourselves. If they hear, Peggy seems in favor. I don't, I'm not opposed. I'm just trying to understand the benefit, and I heard what Joe said about being ADA compliant, but that's not the issue.
It is an issue.
It's not an issue, Joe. You're not in this meeting for now, okay?
The,
Sorry.
the boardwalk right now is ADA compliant. It is enough for wheelchairs to access it,
Right.
which is an ADA. Golf carts are not ADA. So we are fully ADA compliant with the way that the boardwalk exists right
So it's a
now.
question of golf carts.
Yes.
Inconvenience.
And convenience.
But it's perceived mobility more than anything, I would say. Golf carts are the means of transportation, and they feel excluded from that. So that's why I say 17,000 is not a lot to at least be able to pursue, to say, is it worth it? Is it not?
Right.
I'm sympathetic with the fact that we want it for the people that don't have good mobility, but my thought is, will that be enough for them? Will that be enough for them to get to that particular point?
Well, that's-
And then they can't go beyond that apparently if they're not, that's just a seating area in there. It's a very short area.
It's a serene area, and that's I like it on one hand, that
Yeah.
that it solves a part of a problem that people have been perceived as blocked out completely. There is not adequate parking for golf carts on either side that you can then get out of your golf cart into your wheelchair. That's true. You
No.
can't, on either side, you can't.
No.
There's not, and there's definitely not enough.
They put in a whole area
It's
for
way
golf
down on
cart,
the other side
for
of the
golf
bridge.
cart parking right at the beginning of the preserve on the Brokey Center side.
But it's not really on the beginning of the preserve.
It really is.
Well, okay, you gotta go over the bridge to get to the bollard to come in.
Laura, where would that 20,000 come from?
It's broken out here. It'd be 14,600 come from professional fees and 3,000 from engineering. So it'd come out of your budget.
I'll say aye.
Marty, you and I.
I'm an aye.
Okay.
In the end, they gotta be a vote to say yes, because I just don't like spending money that it might get a no back on. Get the answer and then spend the money.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things you got to spend to find out. Welcome to government.
Yes.
Okay. Ed, Peggy?
This is Ed. I'll say yes, because if we don't at least go through this, even if they say no, at least then we've got a definite no, and it'll put the issue to rest. Otherwise, Bob's just going to keep bringing it up periodically.
It gives, as you said, Ed, it gives a firm answer back to the community if people question why not. It's not us, it's South Water Management.
Sure. And
That's
we make
right.
it be like a yes, if, so it's,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, Peggy's a yes as well.
I will make sure those POs are issued.
Unanimous.
All right, 6-0. Next up, access control and patrol services for Pelican Preserve. Oops, too far. So the Selection Advisory Committee, which was the Safety and Security Subcommittee, met and looked over all of the 7 proposals that we received. And I don't know if we mentioned it last month or not. I was here and we actually had 2 additional vendors that missed the deadline to submit their bids. The bids were due at 2, one walked in at 2:20 and the other one at 2:30. it was too late. So there actually were 9 bids or 9 vendors interested in bidding, and 2 of them we couldn't use because they were late. So of the 7 that were here, the least expensive option, in which the Safety and Security or the Selection Advisory Committee is making a recommendation, would be for Wiser. They had, out of 600 points, they had, I think it was 554 for them, and then next closest would be Centurion at 546. So this would be something. Yeah, this would be something. This is actually less than what you're paying now for Wiser. But with that being said, they will be having less staffing, so the hours were cut back because you have less roving patrols, which was a big chunk of the difference in the cost. Even though you're doing the roving
This is
patrol,
Peggy.
you're done for an 8-hour shift.
Right, only doing them at night.
Yeah.
This is Peggy. I just have such a hard time thinking that Wiser is the correct choice on this regardless of their points. Maybe on paper they sound good, but they have been nothing but unresponsive and problematic.
Sure, and that's why it's strictly a recommendation, and it comes to you, and you can certainly override it. If you would like to make a different recommendation, the next step is that it goes to the board next week, because this is well outside of my spending authority and Chelsea's. So, but this, I mean, this is your community, and it's your budget, so this is just a recommendation. It's not a you have to take them. So that's why this is here for discussion.
So Laura,
Ed,
Centurion,
what's your take?
this is Marty. So Centurion, are they anywhere else in the area?
I was not involved in this process, so I can't answer that.
I think that we need somebody from the committee here. I'm kind of going along with what Peggy said. We have had a lot of issues with people going by that gate saying it's not manned, the gate, the guards are sleeping. I'm not sure how we properly address the concerns that have been expressed before renewing a contract.
One of the things that we can look at, if you decide, no matter who you decide to go with, if those are things that you're concerned with, we write those, there's penalties for that in the contract, like if they're for failure to perform. So we've locked those down quite a bit tighter for all of our vendors now. There's specific criteria, like if this happens, then this, and we put them on notice, or we can terminate, or, there's.
You know if you're getting these noted comments from the Pelican residents at all?
Some, but not all.
Get email and Facebook is Facebook, but you see people posting. Says, I came in at 1:00 this morning. The gates were wide open and nobody was to be found.
I have seen some of those, yes. So if you get those, yeah, we investigate. I have access to the cameras, so I can actually, I should say we have access to the cameras. I'm the one that goes to look. But I can pull that up anytime that anyone has had a complaint about an incident, or that the gate was open, or that there was no one around. I pull up the video and to see what's going on.
Laura?
And I've been able to do that.
This is Marty. How many notices of noncompliance have we issued Wiser?
We have put them on notice at least twice in the last year, I think, and they've addressed everything right away. I have their district or area manager, whatever he is, Mark Thompson's boss. His name is Tim Gritton. I have him on speed dial, so he is very good about. I have no problems getting in touch with him. I usually will try to address it we will try to address it with the gatehouse first with Mark Thompson. And if I can't make any headway there, then we step up to Tim. And if I can't get anything from Tim, I can go over his head.
And when does this have to be approved?
Your contract expires in 18 days.
Okay. And there's no automatic carryover for the existing, they could walk out on it.
Didn't they agree to continue till the process is complete, though?
If we weren't able to, but the contract does expire, we would have to negotiate that and get them to sign off. But right now, your contract expires at the end of the month. So this is planned to go to the board next week, which needs to be published like today for it to go to next week's.
Yeah. This is Ed. Excuse me. I wanted to make a couple comments, but I sat in on their selection review, and everybody seemed pretty unanimous that the Wiser scored the best. I've got a lot of the same concerns that everybody else does, but I think we may have those same issues with no matter who we go with. And so I would, even if we go with Wiser, I think we have to put in some procedures in place to ensure that incident reports are being filled out and reported, and some proper mechanisms so that we can effectively communicate between the, WISER, the Safety and Security Subcommittee, and, the Gateway staff, and, hold their feet to the fire, the contract, and have some real penalties in the contract going forward, no matter who we would select.
And I can echo what Ed said. I know that what you're experiencing with Wiser is not unique. We have the same issues with the company we have in Stony Brook. So it's it's kind of the nature of the beast for security firms, unfortunately.
It's my background. I mean, I had a national contract for 13 million with contract security, and you're hiring from the same labor pool. But what you need to do is you need to make sure you're hiring good management. It's the management piece of it you need to take a look at. And my concern with this is that regardless of who it is here, it's the post orders. I mean, I don't think we ought to be paying anything for people just to sit at the gate. And that's what we're doing right now. We're just having people sit at the gate. That roving patrol is worthless the way it's being handled right now. So I'm hoping that the post orders and their process and procedures are spelled out a whole lot different than what's going on right now.
Well, I know the roving patrol is limited to an overnight. Now they're doing like a third shift, basically. I don't remember what they settled on for the hours. We were looking at either like 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 or
Okay,
11
but
to
what do
7,
they do
something
even
like
when they're
that.
roving?
What do
That's
they do?
my
They have
concern.
specific things they're supposed to be checking. Now they'll be doing observe and report, like the Brocky Center, in the town center, if lights are out, driving around, looking in the neighborhood. They're
So
supposed to
gonna
be out
doing
and
stuff
about.
at the town center and making
They're
sure
supposed to be
lights
out and
are.
about. Yeah, they
So
can't
doors
do
unlocked.
anything if they find anything. They can only observe and
Yeah.
They
report.
can only identify
It's a
and
technical question. When they're into the town center, they're outside of,
This is a
Okay.
concession that we made because it is all Pelican Preserve
Okay.
and you all benefit from it. And I think I know they have GPS on the rover, and they used to have stations where they would have to check in with their cards to show when they were there, who was there, when they were there. So we were going to try to, I think
did they
they
ever
talked
get out
about
of the car and
reinstating
walk
it.
around?
They're supposed to.
Yes.
Yeah,
With
they're
the pond,
they're
with the
supposed to,
clean.
and that would be all part of what we asked them to do it's laid out in the post orders.
Anything in the contract that talks about, it used to be called a clock round, the old style, but where they actually have to go
That's
and
what I just
present their
said,
card?
yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so there's a report that somebody's gonna be able to review the next day to show that officer was at certain locations.
Yes.
Yes.
DTEX clocks are obsolete.
Yeah, I know those are.
They have GPS now, so you can see too, they track the vehicle when it's driving around.
Yes, Cece wanted to say something, I think, because that's all right.
She's the newbie on the safety and
Oh,
security.
God, see, she's gonna talk.
I am the latest assigned person to that committee, the CC Haas, to the Safety and Security Committee. I was there obviously for that. It's difficult, I'm curious, to whom are reports made when there's some issue that needs to be investigated? Who investigates the behavior of the contractor? Is it the Gateway staff that does that? The Safety Committee doesn't hear about it till long after. I mean,
Sometimes we don't either.
yeah. See, it seems to me that there should be somebody monitoring a daily report from the Wiser supervisor that says, here's what was encountered last night. I remember we used to have a guy here and saying how many gate passings there were and things like that. So I think with more surveillance, I think Wiser, I mean, I talked to Mark Thompson. He's the only one that I really talked to there. Of course, he works for them, but I do think he probably, given the right resources and the right accountability, I think we could get some pretty good service out of them. I really do.
So this is Marty. I know the previous reports went to Danny Clements. He was on distribution for that. I don't know if they go to Gateway.
The incident reports,
Incident
they're
report.
supposed to be coming to our customer care box, but we've had many issues getting them, and I've been continuously working with Wiser to try to get that sorted out.
Is Danny Clemens a former member of?
Yeah.
He was the
Yeah.
chairperson.
Okay, okay.
Danny's no longer a member.
Yeah, they're
He's no
supposed,
longer
they're
a
supposed to
member.
be coming
I
here.
know he stepped
Safety
down,
and
but-
security.
Yeah, he's on Pete,
Okay.
he's on Pete Perk, but not on this.
At the last community I was at, we actually had the person who was in charge of the Safety Security Committee that would go into their little office every day and take a look at their reports before they ever went someplace else. But now if Gateway is responsible for them, can we be doing
It's a
that,
sticky
you know?
wicket.
Well, you
Yes.
could through your subcommittee
You-
if you
yep,
wanted
yep,
to,
'cause
but now
that's-
remember, they're volunteers too.
Well,
That's
they
one of
are,
the
but-
purviews of the Safety and Security Committee is to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's, I guess, that's something to
it's-
talk to the Safety Security Committee
So
about.
we'll get something like that on the agenda.
Yeah, you only, because I know, like like Alan said, Danny was mainly in charge. He was kind of the person who took care of all the stuff at the gatehouse, so
Yeah.
you'll appoint a new person.
Hey,
And,
Peggy,
and this is Ed, and all those details you guys are talking about are really part of the post orders and some of the management oversight that needs to be modified and put in place, no matter who we go with, so.
Right.
Okay,
Well-
and are the post orders, are they currently on the Gateway site? Can we look at them?
They're not on the Gateway site, but I think they're on your Pelican page, aren't they? We sent them over to get posted.
the
They should be on yours somewhere.
I mean, I would think, considering that we've added, in this contract, we've added checking the RV lot and the two pools at Palazzo and Casella, I would think the post orders have to reflect that.
So this is Marty. So the last time they went out for review, version 3, I saved a copy. I don't know where they're posted at all.
I will put this on the agenda.
Well,
for the-
they're not posted on our website because they're not considered public, because it's a security thing, so they're not on our website. You may have them posted internally on your Pelican Preserve information, which is what we had asked to happen, which we have no control over.
They may be
But,
there. They may be
But
there.
that way,
Yeah.
because
Well,
it
you
pertains to the
certainly should
people in
have
your
it.
community.
if you're on the committee, you
I can
certainly
have
should
Georgia
have
make
it.
sure that it gets out to the whole committee, because you guys have had some turnover.
That would be
so.
great.
So-
That would be great.
So this is Marty. So Danny Clemens wrote the post orders for being sent around for approval. So maybe somebody from the committee should.
Well, it
needs to
wasn't just,
contact
it
him.
wasn't just
I mean,
Danny,
I'm
there
not
was,
speak-
Jennifer had a lot of input into that too, there was quite a bit, it was the whole
Yep.
team on it for months.
And Jennifer's the
So,
chairperson now, right?
She is, yes.
Yeah, and it could be there. I just don't know. But I'll put it on the agenda, so we're not allowed to talk. It's, you know how this works.
So,
I-
so this is Peggy, and I just want to say, remember what they say about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And so with that in mind, I would like to say, let's go with the second option. Let's go with the Centurion and have a fresh start. Have somebody who isn't going to be laissez-faire about the security that they're posted to do.
I don't have with me my notes on the discussions from that last meeting where we looked in detail at every one of those applications of those proposals. I don't think Centurion had experience in this type of community. That's my recollection. I could be wrong, but
Let's see if I
This
can
is
find
John
it.
Barry. I just want to make a comment. I think we have a lot of volunteers that do a lot of work in these subcommittees, and we ought to trust their direction. If they overlook something, okay, maybe we help. But if they have considered all these other things we're talking about, I really think I trust our subcommittee members to give the recommendation. We should give them the approval.
I agree.
John, I hate it when you're logical.
Sorry about that.
You don't work in government, I can tell.
It used to be that Randy Bottleson was the contact for security, safety and security, and he would bring back stuff for our meetings all the time. There is no exact assigned person from PPAC right now. I know Ed attends a lot, I think Peggy attends, but there is no assigned person to really
Actually, Ed
work
is,
with them, is?
Ed's the liaison for
Ed-
safety and
Ed is
security.
the total-
Yep.
Ed is the-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Get off your back,
Yeah,
Ed.
yeah, Ed,
Get off your
good God,
back.
get up and go.
This is Marty.
Hey, but if somebody else wants to do it, they're more than welcome to let them have it at it.
So this is Marty. I'd like to make a motion to accept the Wiser contract.
Accept the recommendation of the committee, isn't it?
That's
Or we
correct.
accept- Or we accept the contract. I don't know which one's the proper motion.
To accept the recommendation. And then
All
we'll
right,
take it,
I'll
we'll
make
pass
that
that on.
motion to accept the recommendation.
Second. Tom seconds it.
All right, anyone opposed?
I'm going to go on record as opposing. I mean, even though the logic is there, I just want them to know that we're watching
Hold
them.
my nose when I vote.
All right,
I guess do it just for discussion's sake, was there an opportunity in the discussion to extend their contract for 1 year?
there was not.
And put them on, I'm going to put them on notice to make them do a better.
Probation.
No, I mean, they knew that their contract was coming up at the end of September,
Right?
so. We have
This is Ed. I think the reason they really didn't want to extend the contract because that would extend the rover hours and everything else the way they are. And they want to substantially change the rover to focus more on nighttime patrols than daytime patrols and that. So they wouldn't look very favorably on extending the existing contract, or the subcommittee wouldn't.
All right, how about the same type of question? I'm using the wrong words when I say extending the contract, but renewing the contract for 1 year, subject to a performance evaluation.
And I think that's what Ed was saying, is that because of the way the rover hours and things are, they've shrunk the amount of hours that you're paying
New
for by
contract,
getting
1
the new
year.
contract.
New contract 1 year, not,
Instead of a 3
Oh.
year.
Yes.
We did not, because we're leaning, well, the district is trying to do all of ours with a 3-year contract and then 2 1-year renewals after
Right.
that. Of course, you can always cancel it at any time, but normally we're trying to get vendors to hold
We
their
can
pricing
cancel
for
at
3
any
years.
time.
Oh, yeah, there's always an opt-out in there. Yeah, you're not tied in if they're horrible once we get them renewed, we have an out.
There's a process for no.
Yeah,
So
that's all written
the
in.
message to the subcommittee is that we need to make sure that they're performing at
Right.
top level and that we're
We
addressing.
have to put something in place
Right.
to monitor that.
Right.
I'd like to call the motion.
There was a motion, you voted it. Peggy was the only one who said no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was 5-1.
voted.
I felt like I was being Marty in that regard.
Me, let Georgia know.
You didn't want to go there, Peggy. You didn't want to do that to yourself.
Just letting Georgia know because she's got to get the agenda out. All right. Payoff update. That would be me. I think we're at the. Boy, it's really raining out there.
It comes.
All right, there's nothing on the agenda or on the item here. This is going to be going to the board next week. We're still waiting to get some papers back. You can pay off the 2013 bonds. There was a 10-year period, so we're past the 10-year period, so it can be paid off. I'm waiting for the final numbers, which will depend on the date that the payoff is requested for, which the board will for sure be deciding next week when they meet. And I guess, long story short, you have more money to help you pay off the bonds than we originally thought. There actually is an account from these bonds when they were taken out that's got, I want to say, a little over $300,000 sitting in it for some
Yep.
projects that were part of the bond that, to the best of our knowledge, are complete. And the funds that are remaining in there were never released. So that's part of the loose ends that we're tying up in the background, is trying to find out, just to confirm that those projects actually are done and they're not going to ask for any more money against them. We don't see any reason why they wouldn't be considered complete, because it's been years. And we gave them a deadline to, like, if we don't hear back from you by, I think it was like today, we're going to assume if everything is fine and we can just close it out. So you have the money that's there in the bond account to help pay off, along with the money that's sitting in the bank that we haven't used yet, that you've collected to make your bond payments. Plus, because the assessments and everything were done for fiscal 25, all of those funds that you'll be collecting for fiscal 25
Could
will
be
be
applied
used to
to
pay
that
it
as well.
off. So it comes out to like, I think about $900,000, so that you'll have to take out of reserves to pay off the 1.5
Do we need to
million.
do this before next year's tax year? I mean,
It's too late, because the
No,
tax
I know, I
assessment.
mean, I realize.
But
it
you have to
came
do
at-
it before, you would have to decide before next August.
That's what I mean. We
Yeah.
can wait until August and all of that, just to the advantage of us waiting until August.
Except
So we'll-
you're still accruing interest.
All
So
right.
that would be the only thing.
All right.
Yeah, it would be the
Right.
interest. But you do have, there are 2 places besides the reserves where you have funds that are available to help pay off the debt. So we
there'll
only,
be-
I knew about the one, but we found out about the second when we started inquiring as to how much was owed and how we go about paying it off.
So there will be a tax savings to the old Pelican Preserve people
But not until
and 26.
fiscal 26, yes.
26.
Yes,
So-
they won't have that debt service on their
So
tax
that-
bills anymore. It's a little, like $170, I think, ish, on their
Okay.
bills. So each of those homes will save that, starting the next budget season.
Right. Anything positive is good.
Just positive.
They could make up the difference on the corporate mistake.
That would have hit in the wrong year.
There you go.
They're still getting both. They would get both this year then. But, okay, so are you, I mean, that's just my update. It's gonna be going to the board again this week. We'll have all of the numbers all zipped up. I'll be able to get you a better report once I have all of that final information. But there's a lot of moving parts in the background. We had to meet with bond counsel. We had discussions with a trustee. We had to talk to the engineers. We have to talk to the lawyer. So it wasn't like, oh, okay, here's how much we owe. Where do I send the check? It
Do
was
you
a
know
little
what the
more
interest
involved
rate
in that.
is on the bond?
I do not, but I can find out and let you know. I
Just
don't
curious.
remember.
If-
Yeah, I
if
don't
we're making
remember.
more, if we're making more interest than what we've got
What,
invested.
what,
No,
what
you-
was the question?
I know, but if you took the money that we have sitting in an account somewhere.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Invested at a higher rate than we're paying, then waiting till August is no problem.
But you have $1.5
If
million
it's reversed.
in interest
We're-
versus 300,000.
We're paying, this is Ed, we're paying 5.75% on the bond. And we're getting about 5% on the money that we have invested. So we're basically losing a half,
Yeah.
3/4%.
Right,
Yeah,
okay, makes sense to do it soon then.
okay. So that's my update, just letting
Okay,
you know.
thank
It's
you.
on the agenda for the board meeting on Thursday for them to yay or nay it. I can't see
Yeah,
any
thank you,
reason
Laura.
why they wouldn't approve it, but that's all the information I have as of right now. We'll get those final numbers for sure as soon as we have them. I
Mhm.
will definitely pass that along.
Thanks, Laura.
Oh, this is just the report that you guys ask for each month. Let me blow this up. Can tell it's quiet. So the black is, again, that's from January through September, can't think anymore, September 1st. The blue is just from August 1st to September 1st. So you can see we're, mostly public work stuff and pond stuff, which is pretty much what we expected. Only had a few information requests and nothing last month at all came to us for landscaping.
Should you have a thing on there about security, going back to where we were?
I think those fall under general. They're not categorized that way. That might fall under general.
And yet you're showing nothing there.
That was the see click fix. So down here is the emails.
There you go.
So here you see safety and public works is, yeah, there was only one last month that got recorded through customer care. That doesn't mean that I didn't get emails from it. This is
Right.
just what's come through the customer care box, which is all we're tracking. So people are reaching out. I talk to people, I would say almost every day I'll talk to somebody from Pelican Preserve. Either they'll call or I'll get an email from somebody over there. So I spend a little bit of time.
Right, but that doesn't come over here into this system.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
And I-
Usually they're pretty simple things. I just take care of it. Or else it'll end up in the see-click fix system because I'll do a ticket for it, so it'll get reported there. If it's something I can't answer either in an email or a phone call, then I'll enter a ticket for it, so it gets logged that way.
Is anybody really looking at this very often?
Nobody looks at it except for you guys, so if it's something that you no longer want to see, I can just ask Randy to stop putting it in there. It was something that you had requested when we first moved everything over here. I'm more than happy to continue to provide it. It takes him maybe 5 minutes to pull it together, so it's not a huge lift on our part. But if you don't want to see it, he will be happy to stop putting it in. So I'll leave it up to you.
No, I just
I'd like-
anybody from the CDD was looking at it.
Well, we wanted to make sure we had the data for that, for sure, for the first year after we didn't use KW. So I would want to make sure that we have at least a year's worth of data.
So keep it through the end of the calendar year, basically, because I think we started it in, well, almost mid-January, so that would give us almost a year.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And without putting a burden on anybody, if there was a way to try to capture those phone calls, incorporate them into, if it can't be done, it can't be, but it would certainly reflect more on where issues are.
I can try to remember to do that.
And without putting.
I'm not gonna make any promises.
No, that's why I said it was.
Yeah, I can try.
You just need a little click on your desk.
Just taking a note. All right.
Those phone calls are costing us more time and energy than people going through the system.
Honestly, most of my phone calls are less than probably 3 minutes, if that. So, and I said the ones that I end up spending more time on the phone with, those usually end up in a ticket, and so they'll get logged that way. But I can do that.
If it gets, without putting a burden.
Yeah. I can just do a little tick box.
Yep.
And I'll let Randy know. I'll ask the rest of the admin staff to do that too. And then when Daniel gets back, I'm sure he gets a lot of calls directly. And I can ask him to kind of like ballpark, what'd you get your calls for? But I'm pretty sure his are the same as mine, where they end up as tickets. Is it something that we need to assign someone to go look at or take care of or fix or whatever, so that it'll end up in the top part of the data. That is it for the agenda. There are no member items and reports. No, nothing else that didn't already get talked about. I think ponds was the biggest thing. I guess next meeting agenda, is there anything that you, outside of the things that are normally on here, that you guys would like to talk about at the next meeting? Obviously, we're going to have an update on the bonds.
We'll have an update on Rule 6.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I would like.
I'd like to see if we can get an update on the security committee, if they could tell us how they're gonna manage or monitor the performance of Wiser.
Okay, I think they meet at the end of this month, so y'all be able to get that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Can we get an accounting of how many man-hours maintenance personnel are spending over in Pelican Preserve?
You know, I send that to you every Wednesday. So
Yeah,
yes,
we do have that,
I
Marty.
send it to you every
You
Wednesday.
send it to me
Yes.
every
I
Wednesday?
do. I send it to
It
the whole
comes on the
P-PAC.
email.
Yep, I email it. Comes every Wednesday.
Okay.
So
I don't think we
you're
got
already
it.
getting it.
I don't know if we got it yesterday, but I usually
I sent
get
it.
it. I don't recall
Yeah, I
seeing
sent
it.
it.
Yeah, I looked at it. Laura, the one question I had was, there was it Ravenna Way? That they spent 60 hours on sidewalk cleaning? That
Yes,
does not seem logical.
Okay,
They-
so
they
I
were
I
out
can
there
I
for
actually
days
can
washing that sidewalk.
I can
I'll
speak
tell
to
you
that. We're still having some issues with the swirly. I think Peggy, I replied. No, Jennifer had emailed
They're
me.
not using a
Um,
swirl.
Yeah, because I asked Jennifer.
Yeah, I can. The swirly is currently out of commission. We are waiting for some parts, and they have either just arrived or will be arriving in the next few days. They got it down to like the very last thing that they need to get it working. It's warranty stuff, so it's being covered, but I know it stinks.
But one
I actually
person is
went.
holding the wand,
I
spraying
actually
the
went
sidewalk.
while the other ones
What
were
are all
behind.
the other people doing?
I didn't observe the cleaning. I just know I rode around with Mark, and I did not charge you for my time inside a Pelican, just on his loop when he did his thing around the community. We actually saw how bad the sidewalks were in Ravenna, which is why that's where they were focusing. That was after he and I did a loop around Gateway, and I said I did not charge you for my time because there were two of us, so I was free. But we did see
Laura.
that really bad, and so that's why they turned their focus to doing that, to get that cleaned up, because it was a safety issue. I mean, it was black, it was bad, it was really bad, so that's why they're there.
Laura, this
So-
is
so it-
Ed. This is Ed. It's just a general opinion of mine that it seems like there's a lot of work being done, especially on the grinding the sidewalks, doing other things that hasn't been prioritized by the subcommittees. And everybody throws, oh, it's a safety issue. Everything becomes a safety issue. And you can put the safety tag on almost anything if you want to. But I think we got to be real careful that a lot of work might be occurring that isn't the high priority work that the subcommittees may think needs to be done.
Okay, then I will
So,
for that to Peggy, who's coordinating that with the subcommittees. They meet to discuss the priorities and what needs to get done as far as what the maintenance people are doing in Pelican.
yeah.
Well, we do give you guys the priorities, and it's always the safety things take priority over what we give you. So I
No,
think
but-
that's the point that Ed is making.
Well, I don't even know that all the things that they're doing have been prioritized by the subcommittees. Especially when it comes to roads and sidewalks and things like that. So,
I'm not involved in that part of the process, but my understanding, and Peggy can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the chairs of each of the subcommittees were meeting or communicating with Peggy, who was working with staff here to prioritize and communicate the things that needed to be done in the community.
Yes.
Okay, well, they're not being discussed at the subcommittee level then, at the team meetings that I've attended, so.
That might be something that we need to make sure the chairs are bringing back down. It's not just their
Right.
opinions. The
Right.
subcommittees need to weigh in.
This is Tom. Wouldn't all of this have been under the safety committee? Because that committee has been struggling to have meetings. So just to go back on.
No, there's definitely priorities from each of the subcommittees that get discussed and sent on. So
Okay.
it's not just safety and security.
This is Marty. So when I spray my sidewalk, my pressure washer, I'm there by myself. Why is this a 3-man job?
But I have 2 managers.
So somebody needs to look into that, Laura. Who's
Okay.
sending these people over there?
I will follow up on that.
And I guess also with like, this is a brand new piece of kit. So why are we having problems with it? Why don't they just replace the whole thing for us?
That's a work parts. Yeah, we're waiting for parts.
Well, why should we have to have parts that are a brand new piece of kit?
That I can't
I mean,
answer. I know this thing has been a pain in our side since it rolled in the driveway, so we're just as frustrated as you are, trust me, because we are taking a lot more time to get things done.
So it's
Because it's not
Daniel's new
working.
toy and it's broke.
Well, we weren't the ones who were in a rush to buy it, I will just say that.
How about that?
It was your prior, Daniel Pryor, I'll say that, yeah.
3
Okay.
real quick things, Laura.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm just finishing up my note.
I heard you at KW the other day, and I heard you discuss the rumble strips.
Yep.
Which a lot of people here probably have not heard that, but that has taken so long. That,
Yep.
So maybe you can kind of explain it again here?
Brief update on that. We are having issues basically with FTE. They had the main person that we were working there with no longer is there. They are pretty much non-responsive at this point. So we have to reach out to find an engineer that will take that project on. I believe the permit got rejected. So we're working through that. So we are on it. I mean, we are actively working that, but we had some major problems with FTE, so we need to have a different engineering
So if the
firm.
permit got rejected, you're gonna have to go all through the permit process?
No,
again?
there's changes that need to be made and another engineer needs to review and then make the changes and resubmit it. So, but FTE has been, we will not work with them in the future.
I thought that was the status of the bike lane, but that the rubble strip or the speed hump had been approved and was out for bid.
I don't think it went out for bid yet. I'll double check on that, but I'm pretty sure it didn't go out for bid yet.
Okay.
I thought it was the other
That-
way around.
I keep getting asked the question all the time, where are they at with that thing? So
Yeah,
that's,
we're actively working it. So
Yeah.
we're just as frustrated as you are. I mean,
Okay.
it's like, it's to the point where it's annoying, so.
And secondly, is anybody from the committee interested in looking at different hours for the meetings? Or, we've talked about this before, but, and talked to Cece this morning here. Did anybody come through from 82 today?
Yeah, I did.
Down?
I wouldn't do that.
Unbelievable.
Last
down.
time ever.
Don't do
Unbelievable.
it.
I'll go eat.
Yeah.
Line to
Laura
plantation.
told me to go next time.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, the
we
school
can go
gets
the
out at
other route, but I
1:30.
mean, should we have to, or could?
I came that
you
way, I
want-
had no problem.
Oh, my God, it was lined up clear back to 82, the cars were.
Yeah, the high school gets out at like 1:35, I
Yeah.
think, or something,
Well, that's
1:40,
Griffin,
somewhere
right?
around there.
So is anybody
On Griffin and
interested in
82,
taking a
yeah.
look at changing this meeting to 1 o'clock or not? Or you want to just keep it the same and then come a different route?
I'm for
6,
keeping
one,
it
half
the
dozen
same.
other to me, but I don't know which staff.
I'm already here. As long as you're done by 4 o'clock, I don't care.
Well, you know, 1 o'clock seems to be a good time for me, but I don't know.
Yeah, and one good thing about 2 o'clock is you can only work here for 2 hours.
But Ed and Peggy, what's your thoughts?
I'm fine with whatever works for the majority. I can do either.
Yeah, either way is fine with me. I just take a different route when it's at 2.
Yeah, I would go there, Alan, until, take this other route, because you're not, when we start facing traffic on the other route back, then yes. But if you're coming down to Tree Line to Plantation and you come straight across to the circle, it took me 15 minutes at max, and I stopped at my vet.
All right, that's fine. But it's whatever the majority wants, so that's fine.
I think we should explore it if it's a problem for people.
I'm here
I didn't
anyway,
know it was a
so
problem.
what I, as long as you pick up at 4 o'clock, I don't care.
All right.
It makes no difference to me.
Right, well, I did, thank you.
And
I haven't been there yet.
the third and last thing is Ed, I think I'm going to speak for the whole committee. We just want you to get well real quick. Sorry you're going through what you're going through, and we're going to miss you here, but get well quick.
Yep.
Yes.
Ditto.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
They have places that need to put him to work.
All right, so as far as the next agenda, if nobody else had anything, I just want to make sure.
Only question is that what you've done in the past is ask if everybody's going to be here.
That's after I find out what the agenda is, so.
Okay.
I got bond payoff, chapter 6 update on the wiser controls, meaning who's going to be responsible for what. And then I will have an answer for you regarding the 4 people on the pressure washing.
Yeah, and
thing.
I think going back to Mr. Schofield, I'd like an update from Ponds, particularly as to what's the plan for 47 and the littorals. I'd like to know that.
Okay,
And I'm sorry, did you mention update or follow up on the boardwalk?
no, I will.
Follow up on the
Update from
boardwalk.
Pond. I don't, I may not have anything. I
May
don't know
not,
how
but
long that's gonna take, but I'll put it on there. If it's not ready, I'll just bump it to the next one. Or else I'll just tell you, hey, I don't have anything to tell you. Update on boardwalk. All right. Is there anybody who is not going to be here in October?
I may be remote,
Okay,
but I will be there.
okay.
I may be on video. Or
This is Marty. I will be here on October 10th for the meeting.
I plan to be.
Yep.
And I just want to make clear that I've been driving through Upper Wisconsin this entire meeting and I haven't dropped you. So I'm impressed.
Nice.
What was that?
Where are you? Where are you in Upper Wisconsin? Since I'm from Wisconsin.
We are outside of Clintonville right now.
Okay.
You know where that's at?
Wisconsin is a great place.
Look, we're going to Shiocton, which is by Appleton.
I used to ride my motorcycle over there.
Okay.
So. All right. If nobody has anything else, then.
Motion to adjourn?
All right. It is
Second.
3:13. We'll adjourn. Thank you.